today to have our newest Congresswoman, Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar, who just elected November 4th. You were sworn in less than a month ago.
That's correct. Yes.
And welcome.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to be here with you, Kristen.
Yeah, I'm very excited. You are, it's interesting to see, I followed your whole campaign, and I was actually speaking with someone yesterday who was saying, a Hispanic woman who was saying, I love Maria Elvira because I've watched her grow throughout the years in journalism. So there's a whole group of people that follow you that the Democratic Party obviously doesn't understand or recognize. And no, and we are one community. I'm a Democrat.
Sure.
You're a Republican.
Yeah.
I'm not here to attack.
Well,
but you're representing all of us.
Absolutely, I am. And I'm delighted to be the representative of every Republican, every Democrat, every independent in District Number 27. Yes.
So first and foremost, what would you say to a lot of the Democrats that are just posting some stuff that's downright mean right now?
That it doesn't matter parties, is whomever is going to be there in that position working for you and helping you find a job or get retrained or find an opportunity. If they have an immigration issue, they come to my office. And I'm not going to ask those people who are calling constantly, hey, what are you, a Democrat or a Republican? I don't do that, or independent. Well, I'm here to serve everyone for the next 2 years, and then they will determine after 2 years if I did a good job and if I deserve to come back or not. That's the beauty of the American electoral system.
And you can take your mask off because we were screened and we do have plexiglass here, and people might want to be able to see you.
You give me permission? I will.
Tim Padgett.
That's right. This is
wrote something, very interesting.
We're following the rules.
Right after, we're following the rules. We're socially distanced and we have plexiglass between us. Tim Padgett wrote something right after you were elected. He said, he defended you in 2018.
What was that?
Tim Padgett from NPR.
Okay.
He said he defended you in 2018, but he was upset about the way that you got elected this time, which the whole socialist agenda. And
why did he get upset? Let's see. Let's review that topic.
I'm a Democrat. He got upset because he said that it was McCarthyism and a lot of finger pointing. And my question
that's not true. He's completely wrong. He's completely wrong.
I'm a Democrat. I'm not a socialist.
Oh, I hear you, but there are many forces within your party that are peddling something that is extremely dangerous called socialism. And you can put democratic socialism in front of it or pragmatic socialism like my predecessor, Ms. Shalala. And you may think that this is a noble concept. And I'm sure that you mean well. The problem is that in practice, it's extremely dangerous.
But is giving out free school lunches, is that socialism? Is getting a federal student loan socialism? I mean, we know the most prosperous time in the entire history of America was post-World War II with the GI Bill, when we helped people get their homes. We paid for their education.
And we agree with all that.
And we grew the middle class.
And we agree with all that. And
that is socialist if you think about it, because the government's helping. So I just don't understand that.
Because the government, the more it grows, then the more it stifles and suffocates the private.
You mean the overregulation?
Overregulation, and then more taxes, and then the government becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you lose more and more of your rights. And then it's a handout, not a hand up.
I will say that.
But wait a minute. And then the more the government grows, then the more socialism comes, and then the more you lose your rights. And that's when you don't want to go that path because it's very dangerous.
But now that you're elected, right? And you realize that the majority of District 27, and let's say that you were talking about this radical supposed socialist left. It's a very, very small percentage, I think, of people. Now, you kind of just have to appeal to everyone. Ileana Ros-Lehtinen was a Republican,
I am appealing to
the
everybody.
Entire community, Hispanic, Anglo, everyone.
I'm going to give you an opportunity. If you are disabled,
you came here today, and
and I will talk to anybody. And because I think that that's the way to behave when you are a public servant. You come and you talk and you explain your ideas, which is what I'm doing right now. So when Tim says that we were not presenting the correct view of what's happening within the Democratic Party, I think is very much mistaken. We have seen it. We have seen the other side. Anything that has to do with socialism is bad. So now if you tell me we got to help, let me finish. If we want to help the middle class grow, I'm with you. If we want to need to help disabled, I'm with you. If we have to help those who are downtrodden and they have had a problem and they need a job, I'm with you. If we need to give better housing, I'm with you. If we need to help people, students to go to college and help them pay for their education, I'm all with you. But socialism, that's not socialism.
But it's kind of a democratic type of socialism. It's government aid.
There's no democratic socialism. Okay. Socialism can never be democratic. Just like this is the same thing as saying democratic fascism. But it's so why don't we talk about democratic fascism? Hey, fascism, but it's democratic. Okay. It's the same thing. We're talking about free market helping those that cannot help themselves. That's what I mean. Free market, and those that cannot help themselves, then government comes to help them for a little while until they can get back on their feet.
I understand that view of not wanting to have a welfare society. I understand
it takes
that,
your dignity away.
But, there's also a compassionate. But let's move on, because I want people to know you're elected now. There's constituents in Miami Beach across the district. They need your help. Where can they find you? Where are your new offices?
My phone number is 305-668-2285. It's on the screen. So 305-668-2285. I don't see it. They're right there. 668-2285. And if you have a need, if you have problems with your Social Security, we're here. If you have problems with immigration, we're here. If you need any type of help at the federal level, we are here, and we don't care who you are. We're here to help you. And on top of that, and that comes right into what we were speaking, I created something that no other congressional office has ever put together. Mm-hmm. It's called a prosperity center. Prosperity. So people can have prosperity and feel dignified and feel good with themselves. And I, the federal representative, I'm going to help you become three things. I'm going to help you become a better person, economically speaking. What does that mean? If you don't have a job and you want to have a job because pandemic closed down your restaurant or you're driving Ubers and now you're not making as much money, come to me and I'm going to help you find a job. A. B. If you want to learn how to do something different because you were doing nails and that closed down, and if you want to become a welder or an electrician, or you want to get into the construction business, or if you want to learn something, I am going to find those federal programs. You see, that's socialism. Federal programs that will help you learn that trade, and then you move out and you don't need anyone else. You don't need a handout. You don't need any help from the government. And number three, even more, which is the one that I like the most, the American dream. I'm going to help you become a client of the federal government. Isn't that a beauty? How do you do that? I'm going to give an example. If you have a little shop, you are one of three that you clean offices at night. Mm-hmm. I want you to be cleaning the courthouse that belongs to the federal government. And the government is going to pay you well and is going to pay you on time.
So you're going to walk them through the process of becoming a vendor. By the way, if you're doing this, you should really go to Miami-Dade College. We have so many retraining opportunities in cybersecurity.
But that's retraining. I'm talking about becoming a client vendor of the federal government. So there's $175 billion available from the federal government for minorities to buy goods and services. So if you are a woman, if you're African-American, if you're Hispanic, if you're disabled, if you are a member of a minority, you come to me and I'm going to make sure that if you really mean it and you put effort and energy and time, I'm going to help you get to that level. That's what I mean, not a handout. And what do democratic socialisms do? Let me just give you a little check so you can stay right where you are. And then I take your self-esteem and your dignity away. I'm going to help you help yourself.
Or it could be democratic socialism. I'm getting a student loan, therefore I can afford to go to school and become educated and then pay off my debt.
Are confusing the terms. Right now, if you want to get a federal...
But why bang this drum? If you know that so many independents and Democrats, don't like that. Why bang these socialist drum in the middle of our District 27 when you know that upsets a lot of your constituents? I mean, I know that this is a dog.
But wait a minute, Kristen. We didn't come up with that.
I think you're so smart, and I think that.
But I'm going to give you the empirical evidence. AOC was the one who said that they were democratic socialists. Donna Shalala said that she was a pragmatic socialist. We didn't come up with that.
But isn't this kind of divisive at this point? I mean, I know that you're in Washington and you were in the trenches, and it is
what my platform. Yeah. You were asking me how I ran on the platform that denounced democratic socialism. That's all I'm saying. Now I still believe that democratic socialism or pragmatic socialism or any form of socialism is bad. It's great in practice. It's great in theory. It's beautiful in theory. It's miserable in practice. Now let's move forward and let's help the people that need help so they can get back on their feet. Well, period.
Let's get Commissioner Gongora online here, because I know he's here and he saw you last week in Miami Beach at Cheeseburger Baby, and he wanted to talk to you. Hello.
How are you? I love
ladies.
Democrats.
Are you a democratic socialist, Michael Gongora?
No, I am a Democrat. You know, it's funny because I've known Maria Elvira a long time, since she was on TV. I had the pleasure of being with her. She interviewed me numerous times. But I think
Was I fair? Was I fair to you?
You were always fair to me. Always fair. But I think what happens is now, and I worked very closely with Ileana, who used to hold the seat, who is a Republican. But I think you have to leave this talk about socialism in the past, because you're elected now to represent everybody, Democrats, independents, Republicans,
Correct.
The whole board, as am I as a city commissioner. So I think these divisive talks about who's a socialist or who's not a socialist takes away from that when you're not in campaign mode. I am a Cuban, a Democrat, and I am not a socialist. In fact, my grandfather left Cuba. He had been a commissioner in Cuba to leave in 1960 to come here and start over, from being a millionaire in 1960 money to starting over, doing whatever job he could get, a butcher, cleaning, selling, security, so that he could provide a better life for his family, including me, and I could have a better education and move up. But I think when you start saying you're a socialist if you want access to better education, or you're a socialist because you want access to free health, that's very divisive in this country. And I'm about coming together. One of the things that I liked on Friday is we met with one of our mutual small businesses, Cheeseburger Baby, owned by a woman who happens to be a gay woman who is struggling during the pandemic and looking for ways that she needs help with her delivery fees. She needs help at the city level. She needs help at the federal level with programs and money and whatever she can get. And that's where we come together and service our constituents. So I'm not into talking about parties once the campaign is done. I'm into talking about programs and what we can do to make life better for our residents.
And that's all I'm talking about. But I have one question for both of you, and then we can close the topic. Okay. What do you say to people within your own party that say that they want democratic socialism for the United States? What do you say to them, you being a Democrat?
I mean, I understand that terminology.
No, but I want to hear. What would you say to an AOC if you were to have her in front of you, or Bernie Sanders? What would you say to them within your own party?
Okay. Well,
go ahead,
number
Michael.
one, I'm happy to answer the question. I'm more of a centrist Democrat. I don't think that's any surprise for anybody that knows me. So I was very happy to endorse Joe Biden, who is also a centrist Democrat. Just as I'm not super left, I would say the same things I say to the radical right, because let's face it, we're talking about, as you said, the socialist Democrats, but there's also an extreme right wing. What would you say to the KKK or the radical part of the Republican Party?
They have no room and they do not belong to the Republican Party. Those are extremists that do not represent what this country is all about and what it was founded on. The American agenda does not include radical, either from the left or from the right.
So look,
that's what I would say. So what would you say to your party, Kristen? Tell me. What would you say to your party when, let's suppose that you have AOC in front of you and she says, you know, Democrats need to be democratic socialists. What would you say?
I would say that everybody has a right to their own opinion. And when several different voices come together, you reach a compromise, which is in the center. And sometimes she says things from a perspective that I hadn't really thought about. And I think about it and she enlightens me. It doesn't mean that I want to give everything away to everyone at all times. And it's the destruction of our wonderful system of checks and balances. I simply think that democratic socialism, I think if we looked it up, is really just a helping hand from the government
with a very high price,
and that could
be
a
very complicated ending.
Medicare.
But I agree with you. I agree with both of you. I think there are very honorable people within the Democratic Party that right now are being put under a very difficult position because of that extreme left that want to bring a radical agenda.
I just feel like you're looking for, you know, when you're in Congress every 2 years. every 2 years there's an election, and I think that you could probably win over a lot of
because you
in the district
had a
if
good
you
vote.
didn't
You voted to strip Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of her committees, something that I agree with. Why did you vote to strip Marjorie Taylor Greene of her committee?
That's a great question. You know why? Because you have to be morally consistent. And when you're morally consistent, I have denounced Ilhan Omar because of her anti-Semitic hate and the way she has expressed herself against my Jewish community in Miami Beach. So I'm very consistent. So if I denounce Ilhan Omar, I have to denounce Marjorie, not only because she has pronounced pretty anti-Semitic Semitic hate or comments, but she also questioned Parkland. She made fun of some of the Parkland victims, which I think is despicable. She also denounced, or she put into question that the Pentagon or the 9/11 Pentagon hit was a false flag. So I didn't want to comment about her because she was elected by that district in Georgia by her constituents. But if I had to vote, I had to vote my conscience the same way that I do it with Ilhan Omar. So that's the real question. I got a lot of, I was criticized extensively within my party, but I believe that you got to take positions. Sometimes when there are moral positions, you have to speak your mind, and I did.
Like, as a Jewish woman, I look at that entire situation and I try to understand, like, empathetically listen, understand where she's coming from, listen to her viewpoint, see if it will somehow influence my worldview. And I think that as our Congresswoman, potentially moving forward, like in this district, you know, how many Democrats? There's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of Democrats in this district that need your help. So,
and I'm here to help them.
Well, I wanted
all of them.
And I wanted to ask you.
Tell me.
You have this bill in Congress, your first bill, Fighting Oppression Under the Reign of Castro Ends Act, or Force. I like that. That's interesting. Okay, what does that do? What's
that means
on?
That they were asking the Biden administration not to eliminate Cuba from the terrorist from the terrorist act from the terrorist countries. Now I'm confused. I'm thinking
the terrorism.
The terrorist was thinking about the Force Act, and the Trump administration put Cuba on the terrorist list of countries. Yes. So we're asking the Biden administration not to remove Cuba from that list. Why? Because Cuba is still terrorizing its own people. The Cuban regime. Tell me.
Support for that? Well, your bipartisan support?
We are Mario Diaz-Balart and myself and Ileana, and even we have some Democratic representatives like Albio Sierras and Bob Menendez. We all know what that regime has done to the Cuban people. So we got to keep on defending them until they find freedom.
Well, that's good. I like that you are a voice for Latin America. I know that they shrunk one of the committees from 14 to 8 seats.
Which makes no sense. Why did Nancy do that?
In support of that. I thought that was very smart. Do you want to explain that to people?
Well, yeah, you have the Foreign Affairs Committee, and within each committee you have subcommittees, and the subcommittee for Western Hemisphere, it's our backyard. Managua is closer to Miami than Miami is to Los Angeles, so they're pretty close. So we need to pay attention to Central and South America, and that is the Western Hemisphere. So Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic leadership decided to scratch from 15 seats to 8. Why did they do that? The more people you have, the more minds you have thinking about the Western Hemisphere, and specifically Latin America, because Miami, we are the capital of the Americas.
Did you get that committee assignment?
I did.
Oh, congratulations.
I did.
I think you've been a great, a voice for the Colombians, Venezuelans becoming naturalized. And I think the Central Americans,
some of them are Democrats.
Los Nicaraguenses, and the Central Americans. So you really are a leader for a lot of those people.
I will be.
Michael,
can I ask a question? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kristen, because obviously as a local elected in Miami Beach, I'm more concerned with what's happening now at home. So some of the issues that we're interested in as Miami Beach leaders and residents is, number one, what can we do to expect more CARES Act money? That has been so helpful for local government during this difficult time, and we continue to push for more financial assistance. And then second, you know, we're having real issues in Miami Beach with flooding. We need help for our infrastructure program. Our single family homeowners are drowning and increasing flood insurance premiums. What can we do at the federal government level to help our local Miami Beach residents with these issues?
And I am very aware of what you're saying, and that is my number one agenda. I understand that we were talking about ideology and ideas, but right now we're here to work. I just had this morning, I had a conference, a Zoom conference with the head of the transportation department at the state level. The people that are using those funds that are coming from the feds at the state level, from Tallahassee to Miami Beach. And we're talking about that corridor that is so much needed for South Beach and the whole Miami Beach area. Number one. Number two, we are helping small business like the lady she's an example of a small business owner, the Cheeseburger Baby. She's an example of how much COVID affected those small business owners and how she decided not to be killed or put out by COVID. And she started crying in front of us. It was miserable. That is why I put together my Prosperity Center, because I want to help people like her.
Small people that you met on the campaign trail.
So that's what I'm saying. Forget about parties. Forget about ideologies. Let's go to work.
So
I have my staff in Washington and in Miami. The only thing we're doing are taking cases. Whatever you need, and if we can really solve it, we're going to solve it for you. And I am going to have a stellar constituent services. And it's not because I'm going to say it.
Wonderful. We're going to send you people as they come. We're definitely going to send them to you. And Miami Beach, we really do need federal funding for sea level rise mitigation. They're in a trial and error phase right now. We're paused because we've done several projects.
But you guys have done very well. You've taken an initiative. You've gone forth. You've said, I'm not going to wait for anybody. I'm going to do it by ourselves. And you guys are a model that we are going to copy. And we're meeting with your mayor and with the commissioners. I'm going to sit with you, and I'm going to find out what is it that you need from me to find those funds and bring them over. And I'm going to fight. And Miami Beach is not only because it's the second most important Jewish community in the country.
It is. It's a growing.
The second one. New York is first, and Miami Beach is second.
Is Miami Beach second?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah. And I'm glad that you support our Jewish community.
Absolutely.
I live right there in Mid-Beach.
It's very close to my heart. And that's why the vote for Marjorie, because I needed to send a message to the Jewish community in Miami Beach that I care. And that is not just blah, 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 but it's not like the politicians. I put my vote where my mouth is, regardless of the consequences.
Well, thank you so much.
And now the COVID relief
coming on. We are going to end this session in English, and we are going to do a session in Spanish right now for your constituents in Miami Beach.
Then I'm going to start speaking Spanglish.
Abuelitas y viejitas y mujeres ahí en Miami Beach que te aman mucho. So
no puedo hablar ahora de inglés para español, pero ¿cómo? No puedo. Se me traba.
Thank you for coming on. But what we're going to do is we're going to start the whole thing over. So, Michael, you stay in the Zoom wait chat, and we're going to end this, and we're going to go back. Let's do Spanish. Spanish is easier. Let's not even go into the socialist thing. How are you going to help these older elderly
pero yo
ladies?
Quiero oírte hablar en español, porque tú hablas muy bien.
Thank you, gracias.
Dale, vamos, habla todo en español.
Miles y miles y miles de puertas, te digo de verdad.
Sí, yo sé, no, es que tú eres la que mejor hablaste. Tú hablas muy bien. Vamos, yo voy a ir despacito.
Okay.
Voy despacito.
Está bien, mira, lo que estamos haciendo ahora es para tus constituyentes en Miami.
We can all start the show doing Despacito.
No, we want to be your friend.
No,
I want to be your bridge. I want to be your bridge to some Democrats.
Quiero ser tu puente. Si lo que estamos aquí es para ayudar a la gente.
You should come out for drinks one night with Michael and I. We'll give you a little.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny, did you hear? Danny, ella quiere reunirse con nosotros.
Una noche vamos a ir a sonar Michael, ella y yo, y vamos a darle unas,
una ayudita.
Some tips, right?
We thank you very much appreciate it.
Well, are we going? Ready? Okay.
Do it.
All right.
It's a good idea. You know the beach better than anybody.
Bienvenidos aquí. Estoy aquí en el Community Newspapers in South Miami con nuestra nueva congresista Maria Elvira Salazar.
Sí, y estoy
Bienvenida.
encantada de estar contigo,
Thank
porque
you.
tu español es muy bueno.
Thank you. No, yo seguí tu campaña en español y la verdad, la gente que te sigue y te admiran tanto, yo tengo tantos constituentes en Miami Beach que te quieren.
Sí, no, es que lo que pasa es que muchos años en la televisión hacen que la gente te quiera. Y yo quiero a la gente también.
Sí, porque han crecido
mucho.
contigo.
Claro, y esas son la gente que yo servía. Y ahí está el comisionado Gongora, que ha estado conmigo desde hace muchos años y que le agradezco mucho que me apoye, porque todos somos miembros de la comunidad del Distrito 27, que es la Pequeña Habana y Miami Beach.
Es una comunidad tan diferente porque tenemos poblaciones diferentes. La comunidad cubana, una comunidad grande argentina también que tenemos en el norte de la ciudad de Miami Beach y North Bay Village. Entonces, y yo creo que es importante que tenemos representación en español.
Y yo te agradezco a ti muchísimo y te agradezco que hayas aprendido tan bien y que entiendas y lo hables y que te preocupes por ese grupo de gente que no necesariamente sabe inglés. Así que I commend you.
Thank
Felicitaciones.
you. No, es donde hemos hecho nuestro trabajo a Michael Gongora, comisionado Gongora, que a lo mejor va a ser alcalde Gongora este año entrante. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros.
Gracias.
Por eso.
No, queríamos ofrecer a todo el mundo que está aquí. Queremos saber. Cuenta. Michael?
Estoy feliz de estar con ustedes, así que muchas gracias, Kristen y María Elvira, por la invitación. Y para que sepan, yo fui el primero que llevé a Kristen para hablar en español en televisión por la primera vez.
No, fantástico.
Buenos días, Miami.
Sí, buenos días, Miami. No, los dos. ¿Y qué es lo que pasa? Que hay que apoyar gente como Michael y como Kristen, gente que le interesa a la comunidad, que son gente que tienen una visión centrista. Y gente que lo que quiere es mantener la agenda americana, que es la agenda que ha funcionado por los últimos 300 años. No desviarnos de
No, es
eso.
el mejor país del mundo. Nosotros vivimos en la mejor democracia de este mundo,
sin
con libertad.
Duda alguna. Sin duda alguna.
Y yo sé que hay mucha gente que tienen miedo que vamos a entrar en algo súper extremista, pero no vamos a entrar en
No,
esa
esperemos
hora.
Que no. Y por
Estás
eso tú
aquí,
y yo vamos a luchar para que eso no ocurra. Punto.
Ya. Lucharemos por la
Juntas.
libertad. En cubano siempre, en español cubano siempre se dicen, bueno, estoy luchando. Entonces, cuando no sabía qué decir, yo diría, sí, estoy en la lucha.
Estoy en la lucha.
Eso resuena mucho con la gente. Estoy luchando. Dale. ¿No?
Muy bien, no, me encanta, es cierto, la lucha es muy grande para los cubanos.
Y cuéntanos ahora de tus oficinas y cómo vas a ayudar, porque hay mucha gente que necesita ayuda en el Distrito 27. Yo sé que tenemos
todo el mundo que nos está escuchando, que necesita ayuda para cualquier gestión que tenga que ver con el gobierno federal. Ya sea inmigración, ya sea veteranos, sea un problema de Social Security, problema de vivienda, todo el mundo venga a mí. Pero más allá de eso, si alguien necesita ayuda económica, hice una división dentro de mi oficina congresional que se llama el Prosperity Center, el Centro de Prosperidad. ¿Y qué hace el Centro de Prosperidad? 3 cosas. Si usted no tiene trabajo y quiere buscar un trabajo, yo lo ayudo. Si usted quiere aprender a hacer otra cosa, un trade, usted quiere aprender a ser electricista o plomero o quiere aprender construcción, hay tantos diferentes, ya estoy pensando en inglés, tantos diferentes
oportunidades,
trades son oficios nuevos. Venga a mi oficina. Y la tercera, que es la que yo más quiero, convertirse en un cliente del gobierno federal. El gobierno federal tiene 175 mil millones de dólares, que son billones en inglés, $175 billion disponibles para comprarle bienes y servicios a todo aquel que sea parte de la minoría. Mujeres, afroamericanos, disabled, veteranos, minorías, todo el mundo. Aproveche el sueño americano. and I'm going to help you. Yo los voy a ayudar.
Y en Miami Beach, Michael, yo sé que tú estás a cargo de un comité en la ciudad de Miami Beach que está dedicado a los, ¿cómo se dice? Housing.
Sí, a la vivienda.
A las viviendas costeras.
Viviendas.
Y en el pasado, la alcaldesa Mary Bauer trabajaba con Ileana Ros-Lehtinen para traer fondos a Miami Beach a comprar edificios de bajos recursos.
Muy bien.
Para
Y
ayudar
yo
a la
estoy
gente.
haciendo lo mismo. Por eso me voy a reunir con la comisión de Miami Beach. Me voy a reunir con el alcalde para que me digan cuál es mi tarea. What's my homework? Mi tarea que tengo que ir a hacer a nivel federal para traer esos fondos. ¿A quién tengo que ir a buscar? I'm there.
Trabaja, por favor, con comisionado Gongora porque él está súper dedicado a eso ahora. Yo sé que en el pasado se hizo, entonces se puede seguir haciendo porque necesitamos más unidades, eso seguro.
Yo sé,
Beach.
en todo el sur de la Florida tenemos dos grandes problemas, la vivienda y el transporte.
Sí.
Hay dos grandes problemas.
Exacto.
La vivienda.
Y para que sepa, el dinero que entra del gobierno federal, María Elvira, del CARES Act, yo he patrocinado todos los programas para ayudar al público y mucha ayuda a la comunidad hispana. Primero, el programa de renta que ayudó a pagar la renta y también hipoteca por muchos que necesitaban durante la pandemia. Uno que ayudaba a negocios pequeños y también una parte adicional para los restaurantes que le ayudó con el delivery free, como usted sabe, en Cheeseburger Baby. Otro programa que estábamos usando ese dinero federal para ayudar a la comunidad. Así que ese dinero de CARES Act es importante y esos programas ayudan mucho a la comunidad, especialmente la comunidad hispana en Miami Beach, que hay muchas personas que necesitan asistencia, no tienen trabajo en este momento, no pueden conseguir trabajo. Así que me pone feliz escuchar que vas a ayudarlo a encontrar trabajo, pero en este momento también necesitan fondos. Así que vamos a necesitar que vaya a pelear en Washington para traer ese dinero para nuestra comunidad, para seguir ayudando.
Y así lo haré.
Y gracias por compartir aquí con nosotros. Ahora tenemos que ir porque tú eres bastante
tenemos que ir porque
ocupada
tenemos otra, pero te agradezco mucho.
¿Tienes algo que quisieras decir?
No, I very much appreciate. Agradezco muchísimo a todo el mundo que votó por mí, a todo el mundo que me ha dado la oportunidad de yo ser su congresista por los próximos 2 años, que me dé la oportunidad de servirle. Olvídese del partido. Independiente, da lo mismo. Aquí usted tiene una sola congresista que soy yo por los próximos 2 años y aquí estoy para servirle dentro de mis mejores capacidades. Deme la oportunidad de ser su congresista y de usted vivir mejor en este país con todas las grandes ayudas que da el gobierno federal. Y a ustedes mi agradecimiento, mi cariño y muchas gracias por permitirme estar con ustedes. Siempre es un gusto estar en la democracia americana. No importa el partido, todos somos americanos y todos queremos una cosa, el bien común.
Perfect. Y si quieren, llamen a la oficina de María
Elvira. Ahí está el número 305-668-2285.
Bueno, muchísimas
gracias. Un abrazo y muchas gracias.
Que Dios los bendiga.
Que Dios los bendiga, eso mismo. Si Dios contigo, ¿quién contra ti?
Bueno, chao.
Que tenga buen día, gracias.